Shalom and welcome back once again to another teaching from Messianic Delaware. My name is Jerry Mitchell, and I want to thank you so much for spending a little bit of time listening to this. Today, I hope to bring you something kind of fun and different, a way of looking at something that maybe we don't think enough about as having to do with God creating something. Don't run screaming into the night from the picture you see there. Some people have told me they wanted to see who was doing the teaching, and so that is me. One of my wife's favorite pictures here recently, just a couple of months ago, that she took. And if you want to, print it out, stick it under your cabinets, and chase the mice away. That will be perfectly okay with me. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Today we're going to look at something abstract concepts. Did God really create the abstract? Now, what do we mean by abstract? Well, abstract things we don't physically touch. It's sometimes defined as thought. Sometimes it can be emotion. But did God create these abstract things, and how in depth was He when He created them? And it's a fascinating study, and when we look at God gives us the ability through this breath of life, this communication that we have with Him. And we, as humans, can communicate on a level that dogs and cats and bears and alligators simply cannot communicate on. We can appreciate the beauty of a sunrise. Humans can appreciate a conversation with each other and a conversation with our Creator. I've not, when you see two dogs meet or two animals meet, it's kind of a standoff to see who is superior. Humans do that too to a certain degree, but animals, that is their primary goal, is to understand who is superior. But humans, once we cross that or get over that line of superiority, we can communicate. We can share ideas and concepts. We don't always agree on them, and that's fine. You don't need to agree, because that is what stretches the imagination. It's what enhances humanity, so to speak. So as we start to dig into these things, let's begin with numbers. Math. Really? Did God create math? What is a number? When we came up with this concept of numbers, whether it's counting or whatever, we really didn't come up with it. It was created. God gives it to us. But what is a number? If somebody simply came up to you on a street, like somebody would do this, but I'm using this as an example. If somebody just mentioned the number 6 to you, what comes to mind? Does it have anything special? If you don't assign something with that number, it's like saying blue. Well, what is it that's blue? You have the color in your mind, but you don't know what it is that would be blue. Same way with the number 6. You have an amount, a value, but you don't know what it is. Numbers are simply adjectives. Adjectives that have value. I could put, 6 cotton balls on the table or hold them in my hand, and now we have an idea of what we're talking about. I have 6 items, 6 cotton balls. So a number is basically meaningless without having something to go with it, having something associated with it. The number 9, for instance, is the last of our single-digit numbers before we get to 10, the double digits. But what does that mean? If we don't have objects associated with the number, then it's just a meaningless random number. So these abstract concepts like math and numbers, yes, God did create. And he starts right out in Genesis, day 1. He assigns a number 1 to that first 24-hour cycle period of darkness and light till it finally turns back to darkness. And it's interesting that he assigns this 24-hour period of time before the sun is even created. He assigns 24 hours of time prior to the earth being able to revolve around anything. So math and numbers are important in the Bible. Let's take a look. As early as Genesis chapter 5, verses 3 through 5 read, Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, and after his image, and called him Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years. And he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. So the first mathematical equation we really look at in Scripture is 130 plus 800 equals 930. That's a pretty basic format of math, right? It's a simple addition, but it's not man's concept. It's God's concept. There is a Dr. Jason Lisle who does a tremendous job of explaining how God creates patterns in numbers, and they're called fractals, and it's fascinating. You should really, really take some time. I've got the link here on the teaching, or you can just search for Fractals by Dr. Jason Lisle. Absolutely fascinating. You see patterns in numbers. You see just things that you wouldn't ever conceive that God did, because we don't think of God creating the abstract. What other abstract items would God create? What has he done for us? What has he put into this breath of life that he gives us, this communication, this thought process? Music. Music is very interesting. You can have classical music, you can have rock, you can have bluegrass or country or reggae. I will stop short of considering rap music. I have a little issue with that, because somebody making up rhymes as they go along, it is a type of art, I guess. It just doesn't appeal to me. But then again, there are certain jazz tunes that don't appeal to me. There are certain reggae tunes that don't appeal to me. Music reaches people on different levels. That's why it's considered an abstract art. But music is really, really interesting. Can you imagine looking back, and even though there's no real record of Eve humming a tune as she was working, doing whatever it is she was doing, there's no record of Adam singing a song, they must have listened to the birds and mimicked it in a kind of a way. I know that's a little bit of speculation, and I don't like to speculate, but music has been in human mind, at least the way I think of it, since creation. Since Adam listened to the birds, since Eve may have heard the wind rustle through the trees. These things create sounds, and this vibration that hits our eardrums and forms rhythms and tunes is what we know as music. There's over 1,100 references to music in Scripture. Over 1,150, actually. Genesis 31:27 says, Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with myth and with songs, tabret, and with a harp? Music plays an important role in Scripture. It sets the tone, the mood for certain things. It does things that are just absolutely fascinating. And it still does today. This breath of life that we have acquired as a gift from our Creator that gives us the ability to communicate. We can communicate through rhythm and melody, and we can touch the emotions of people. There was an old country song, and one of the lyric lines was, "Can you make people feel when you play?" And that is actually the ultimate goal of a musician or a performer who performs live music. They want their audience to feel what that music is doing in their heart. You know, you can play different styles, but even if you just take a flat piece of music that may be only 4 or 5 measures long, if it was written to be played to make people sad, you can play the same melody, change the tempo, and make people feel happy. Just the same, you can take a very happy song and change the tempo, never change the melody, but you can make people feel very sad. And if you can do that, that is the ultimate goal of a person who is performing live music. They want the audience to feel what they feel as they play. That's an abstract concept. But God gives us these abstract concepts. He created these abstract concepts. It's a gift from our Creator that we can communicate in such a way. Math is a form of communication, right? It's really interesting how math does these things. It's interesting how music does these things. But next is something that, well, let's just look at art. We have painting, we have photo, we have people that work in medium of sand, clay. There is almost unlimited ways that you can have art. You can have, today we have chainsaw carvings that are just absolutely gorgeous. And we look at these things and say, how could that person do that? How could that person have the talent to take a chainsaw and cut this log in such a way that he forms a bear or an eagle or whatever it happens to be? Well, again, it is a gift from our Creator. Let's look at some artist concepts. Exodus 25, 10 and 11. They shall construct an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. And you shall overlay it with pure gold inside and out. You shall overlay it, and you shall make a gold molding around it. Well, there's the instruction, but okay, here's how you're going to do it. Now, who's going to do it? And in Exodus 35, we get the answer. Moses said to the children of Israel, see, the Lord is called by name Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, the tribe of Judah. And he has filled him. Did you catch that? God has filled this Bezaleel with the spirit of wisdom and understanding and knowledge in all manner of workmanship, and to devise curious works, and to work in gold and in silver and in brass, and in the cutting of stones to set them, and the carving of wood to make them in a manner of cunning work. Our Creator gives the spirit of guidance to do these things. I know a lot of people who try to play music. I dabble at guitar. And you know, I play to make myself happy. I don't play for money. I'm not that good. But I know people who have played for money, and they are very, very good. They can sit there and make people feel what they feel. I know people who paint pictures that are just outstanding works of art. And some of these paintings are sold for a lot of money. And he will acknowledge, the person I'm talking about will acknowledge that it is not his talent. He gets this because his creator gives him this ability to do it. He doesn't know how to explain it. He doesn't understand that he has the spirit in him that guides him to be able to do that. But he knows that that talent comes from his creator. I know people who I know people who dabble in clay, and they do some really nice work. And the interesting thing about clay, I'm told, is when you see a mistake, you get to start all over it, and nobody knows how many mistakes you've started out with. Because as the clay turns on the wheel and you mold it up into something, if something isn't just right, you just crush it down and start all over again. And the lady told me one day, all her pieces are not perfect. But they're as good as I am instructed to do. And that kind of hit me. They're as good as I am instructed to do. And I thought that is something that we should really strive to be, is we should be as good as we are instructed to be. But these artistic concepts that we have, they are a gift from our Creator. God creates art, and He gives us the Spirit, because we have the breath of life, we have the breath of God in us. He gives us that Spirit to be able to create these things, just as Moses explained about Bezalel, or however you want to pronounce his name. I've seen it a couple different ways. Pronunciation of that name's not important. You just need to know that God spoke to us through Moses and said, it is God who gives us the ability to do these things. And because of that, we can look at other features and other abstract concepts and say, yes, these things come from our Creator. Let's look at drama for a second. Drama, the art of storytelling. I know a lot of people who can tell stories, and they can be actually educational stories, but you don't realize what you're learning because the person who is telling the story is doing so in a way that it holds your fascination. These people can spin yarns, and you can learn from them. And I know people who tell stories for entertainment, and they're fascinating people to listen to because sometimes they use poetry, sometimes they use drama, sometimes they use props. But anyone who tells a story and who is good at it is using the abstract arts to promote what they're saying. And they get the ability to do that from God. He gives us the ability to communicate. He gives us the ability to do these things. Now, a lot of people won't associate the abstract with creation. And that's too bad. Because even the abstract proves, to me, the Creator instead of evolution. Look at numbers. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I know when it comes to numbers in my checking account, they do not evolve. Okay, if I start out with a 3 in my checking account today, next week It is not going to evolve into any other number. It's going to stay a 3. Most of the time, it's going to devolve because we have to use subtraction. Okay? But a 6, for instance, is not going to magically evolve into a 9. You're more than welcome to try this with your banker if you want to, and you can put a 6, like a $6 in your bank account today, and tell him, well, tomorrow that 6 is going to evolve into a 9. I don't think that's going to work for you, but you're more than welcome to try it. Art doesn't evolve. It may change as our concepts and our understanding evolve or develop, or whatever word you want to use to describe a continuing education process. But we don't automatically evolve. If somebody paints a picture of a boat today, maybe it's a sailboat. Okay? If an artist paints a picture of a sailboat today, I don't care how many millions of years pass, that picture of that sailboat will never evolve into a diesel-powered ocean liner. It just isn't going to happen. Because even art, because of what we learned through Moses, we receive the Spirit from our Creator to create. That doesn't come from evolution. That comes from creation. Storytelling, music, it's all the same. Tunes don't evolve. We change them as our emotions change, but that's not evolution, that's creation. Someone who tells a story today, now, some fish stories may enlarge, but that's not evolving. If somebody catches let's just say a 12-inch fish today, now I know that next week it's going to be 15 or 16 inches long, okay? That's just the nature of fishermen. Fish grow after they're caught. It's that simple, okay? It's been done for I don't know how many years, and it will probably continue to be. People like to exaggerate as time goes on. But that fish, no matter how large it gets, is not going to evolve into anything else. It's going to stay a fish. Even in storytelling, even in exaggerated storytelling, fish remain fish. They don't evolve into amphibians and then on into apes and then on into people. That comes from creation. And I hope, this is not a long teaching by any stretch of the imagination, but I hope it's thought-provoking. I hope it gives you some reason to stop and think and say, I didn't realize that music is a creation of God. And that is really all I needed to discuss today. On our next teaching, which should be released on May the 12th, I believe, or 13th, I'm not exactly sure of the day. I'm going to hopefully be able to discuss with you how to recognize some things. Carl did a teaching last week that was very, very dark and heavy about demons and spirits. I wanted to lighten it up this time, and quite honestly, I've been wanting to talk about the abstract anyway, but this gives me a really good reason to lighten things up just a little bit for a week. And then next week I want to teach about how to recognize the demons and the spirits that we shouldn't be associated with. Because if we recognize the ones we shouldn't be associated with, then we can see the ones that we are to be associated with that much easier. Also, on our next teaching, look forward to a very special announcement. Something coming up that hopefully everyone will enjoy, or at least I'm excited about it, and that's all I'm going to say. It will be special, and you need to listen. That's all we have for now. So I will end by saying shalom and have a very, very, very good couple of weeks.